Betsy Swain faces another emotional setback in Coronation Street next week as she finds it increasingly difficult to adapt to life after her devastating stroke. At the same time, the fallout from her relationship with Dylan Wilson takes a dangerous turn when someone close to her appears to take revenge, leaving the teenager fighting the consequences of a brutal attack. As Betsy's family and friends continue insisting that Dylan should be held accountable for what happened, violence erupts when Dylan is found unconscious in the precinct. Rushed to hospital following the assault, he later regains consciousness, but the identity of his attacker remains a complete mystery. According to a Weatherfield insider, Betsy's feelings for Dylan have not changed, despite everything she has endured. Even after suffering such a life-changing stroke, Betsy is still deeply in love with Dylan, the source explains. She doesn't blame him for what happened, but almost everyone around her does. Her loved ones are struggling to cope with their own pain, and one of them eventually takes that anger out on Dylan. Back on the cobbles, Betsy mourns the life she once had, particularly the relationship that has now become so complicated. Although she knows her mother, Lisa Connor Swain, wants Dylan kept well away from her, Betsy quietly admits to Ryan Connor that she desperately wants to see him. Wanting to help, Ryan gently persuades Dylan to visit number 6. During the emotional reunion, the couple finally have the chance to speak honestly. Betsy reassures Dylan that she doesn't hold him responsible for her condition and encourages him to stop blaming himself. Their heartfelt conversation brings them closer together, but the moment is abruptly interrupted when Lisa unexpectedly returns home. The following day, Lauren Bolton is furious after discovering Dylan visited Betsy. Convinced he should face serious consequences, Lauren insists he must be held responsible for everything that has happened. Meanwhile, Betsy has more immediate concerns as she continues battling the speech difficulties caused by her stroke, making even simple conversations a daily challenge. Elsewhere, tensions boil over at Roy's Rolls when Brody Michaelis confronts Dylan and warns him to stay away from Betsy. Dylan refuses to back down and accuses Brody of acting out of jealousy because Betsy never returned his feelings. The confrontation quickly escalates, with the two teenagers on the verge of a physical fight before Nina Lucas steps in and separates them. A source reveals Dylan accuses Brody of being jealous. Nina manages to calm the situation before it turns violent, but it's obvious the hostility between them hasn't gone away. Later, she discovers Dylan lying unconscious and badly injured in the precinct. Following a short stay in hospital, Dylan returns to Weatherfield alongside his father, Sean Tully, to thank Nina for finding him and getting him help. Sean immediately believes Brody is responsible for the attack and confronts him in the street. However, Dylan shocks his father by pulling him away and insisting Brody had nothing to do with the assault. Whether Dylan is telling the truth or protecting the real culprit remains uncertain, leaving everyone questioning who really attacked him. Meanwhile, Betsy's emotional struggles continue to grow. Unable to accept how dramatically her life has changed, she refuses to leave the house, leaving Lisa deeply worried about her daughter's future and mental well-being. Lauren later visits Betsy to apologize for walking out on her previously, hoping to repair the damage to their friendship. However, with emotions still running high and Betsy struggling to come to terms with her new reality, rebuilding their bond may prove far from straightforward. A show insider explains, Betsy has lost so much of her independence, and adjusting to her new circumstances is incredibly difficult. It's affecting every part of her life and changing how she sees herself. The people around her are struggling too, as they try to support her through such a huge life change. The source adds that the last thing Betsy needs is someone taking revenge on Dylan in her name. As suspicion falls on those closest to her, the mystery of who carried out the violent attack promises to become one of Coronation Street's biggest talking points in the episodes ahead. A dramatic mystery unfolds in Coronation Street as Dylan Wilson is discovered unconscious after a heated confrontation, leaving Weatherfield wondering who is responsible for the violent assault. Lauren Bolton and Brody Michaelis pay a visit to Betsy Swain, who is continuing her recovery after her life-changing stroke. As Betsy struggles to communicate, Ryan Connor reveals that Dylan recently came to see her, leaving Lauren horrified. Concerned that Dylan has been allowed back into Betsy's life, Lauren becomes increasingly determined to see him face the consequences. While Betsy works with her speech therapist and continues battling to find the right words, Lauren makes her feelings crystal clear, insisting to Brody that Dylan must be held accountable for everything that has happened. Motivated by Lauren's comments, Brody later tracks Dylan down at the cafe and orders him to stay away from Betsy for good. Dylan refuses to be intimidated and fires back, accusing Brody of acting out of jealousy because Betsy never had any romantic feelings for him. Tempers quickly flare as the confrontation threatens to turn physical, forcing Nina Lucas to step in before the argument escalates into a fight. However, the drama is far from over. Later that day, Nina makes a shocking discovery when she finds Dylan lying unconscious in the precinct after an apparent assault. Emergency help is called, and Dylan is later taken to hospital to recover from his injuries. When Dylan eventually regains consciousness, the biggest question is whether he knows who attacked him, and whether he will reveal the identity of the person responsible. With several people angry at him over Betsy's condition, there is no shortage of potential suspects. Ross raises more questions. Elsewhere, Ross tells Fizz Dobbs and Tyrone Dobbs that he would like to move closer to them, but Fizz immediately shuts down the idea, making it clear she isn't comfortable with the proposal. Ross soon finds himself under further scrutiny when Steve McDonald questions him about where he dropped Cassie Plummer off. At first, Ross pretends he has no idea what Steve is talking about, but after Steve reveals that he witnessed Cassie getting into Ross's car, Ross is forced to change his story. He claims he simply drove Cassie to Piccadilly Station, but his sudden change of explanation only deepens suspicions. Is Ross hiding something more than he's prepared to admit? Ronnie worries about Debbie's future. Meanwhile, Asha Alahan and Sienna discuss Debbie Webster's dementia diagnosis and the different care options that may become necessary as her condition progresses. Overhearing their conversation leaves Ronnie Bailey reflecting on the recent holiday with Debbie. He later admits to James Bailey that the trip proved far more difficult than he expected, and, looking back, believes taking Debbie away from the familiarity of home may have been the wrong decision. Determined to support the woman he loves, Ronnie reassures Debbie that when the time comes, he will make sure she has the help she needs by arranging professional care, promising to stand by her side throughout whatever lies ahead. Coronation Street continues to air on ITV1 every weekday evening at 8:30 p.m., bringing viewers the latest drama, twists, and emotional storylines from Weatherfield. Fans who prefer to watch online or catch up later can also stream every episode on ITVX, making it easy to stay up to date with all the action whenever it suits them.